Pre-call eyes.
Yeah.
Otherwise they hear me at the end.
Nah. Cool. So from where we left off in the video, we had this here, returning num heads divided by num. We, of course, need to, that integer that's returned to us needs to be a double, right? Because they're different data types, again. So what we need to do is cast it to double. And then if we console.log the results of 8 random coin tosses, we get 0.625, 0.5, 0.5, 0.125. 0.375. Cool. 0.5. Any questions so far with our toss multiple coins? I know we kind of went off on a tangent there with the random objects, but cool. All right, let's do this. Oh, this. Cool. Have the function return a double that reflects the ratio of head toss to total toss. Cool. Build a function names that returns an array of strings. Okay. How can I create a function called names that returns an array of strings? Public static string array called names. Cool. And I'm going to have to create an array with the values Todd, Tiffany, Charlie, Geneva, Sydney. Cool. So I have a string array called names that will equal this array of strings. Cool. I have an array of strings. Done. Any questions so far? Shuffle the array and print the values in the new order. Okay? Does anyone know how to shuffle an array? This is a very common algorithm that you'll run into. Maybe during interviews. Does anyone know what the Fisher-Yates shuffling algorithm is?
Yeah, we did do that. Oh, we do that in
Yeah. Yep. So you take a random integer of the length of the array, and then swap with every single integer. Right?
Well, how did it work again?
How does it show you? It's a sentence swap.
It's a what?
It's like recursive sentence swap.
I don't. It doesn't have to be recursive, but
That's the way Jack explained it to me.
a recursive Fisher-Yates.
I think so.
I think I did a recursive Fisher-Yates also.
Okay,
I think
cool.
That's the way that Jack explained it to me.
All right. Well, ours will be much more simple than a recursive Fisher-Yates. It'll just be iterative. So I have it up here, and let's step through it. Cool. So what's happening in this line?
So
You're
first,
Sorry, you can go.
so first we
Yeah.
randomize. We do the randomization again equals new random. Then we go down to our for loop, which we have a bar of index is assigned to 0 as long as index is names.length. Names is our string array.
Uh-huh.
And as long as names.length is -1, we're going to index up 1. Then
Okay.
we have our integer.
Yes. So we have a variable,
Right.
rand index, that's going to hold what type of data type? An integer, right? So this apparently produces for us an integer, right? So we use the random object, again using the .next method, which will produce a non-negative integer. And it looks like we've given it a range of index plus 1 and the length -1. Cool? So let's say we have an array of 100 values, right? Then what we're going to put into here is 1 and 99. So we're going to get some random integer from 0 to the length of our array, right? And then using that random integer that we get back, all we do is we perform a simple swap. So let's say we have an ordered array of 1 through 100, and then we get a random number, so let's say like 42, and then we swap 1 and 42. And then we move to 2. And then we swap 2 again with a random integer, and we swap it. And then with 3, we find a random integer, and then we swap it. And then the result is kind of a pseudo-random array. that make sense? So we're going to take Todd, swap it with some random name. We're going to take Tiffany, swap it with some random name, Charlie with some random name, Geneva with some random name, and then that's it. Cool? So that's what this Fisher-Yates algorithm does right here. Cool?
So we never randomize the last index.
No, because it will have, what are we going to swap it with once we're at the last index? Since we're moving from here and then swapping with something random, and then we move here and then swap it with something random, and then we step forward and swap it with something random. Once we get to the last index, we've run out of space to swap stuff with. And likely that last index will have been somehow randomized by a swap from a previous number. Yeah. You guys following kind of the Fisher-Yates algorithm, though? If you guys Google Fisher-Yates shuffle algorithm, it's a very, very, very famous algorithm. Yeah, and one you guys should probably familiarize yourself with. Maybe try doing this in JavaScript. Might be a little bit easier with math.random. Cool. So shuffle the array and print the values in the new order. So I've shuffled the array here, and as I'm shuffling it, I'm printing each name in the index of which I shuffled. Cool. Return an array that includes names longer than 5 characters. Okay. So now I need to look through my array and just keep the names that are longer than 5. Right? Cool. What maybe data structure can I use for that? If I'm unsure how many things I'm going to have in this collection. Yes, great. How do I create a new list?
List caret string.
Huh? List, caret, string.
Equals new list.
Name. What name should we call this? List of names equals new list of strings. And I need to use system.collections.generic in order for me to have access to these lists objects. Cool. So I have list of names, and I've instantiated a new list, right? Now I can run a for, maybe in each loop, try different stuff, and say string name. Oops. Cool. So for each name in my names array, right? For each name in names, if name dot length is greater than 5, I'm going to list of names dot add the name. Cool?
We just return list of names.
Yes, exactly. But it seems that it says they want us to return an array that only includes names longer. The reason that we had to convert it into this kind of dynamic list is because I didn't know how many names had more than 5 characters. If I did know exactly how many, I would have just created that array, right, in the first place. But I didn't, so I created this list. So what I can do is have list of names dot to array, and I can store this in a variable called string arrays of return array equal to that, and I can return.
So did you name that string, or
Hmm?
like on that line we have string array then return array?
This?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does string relate to return array right there? Like return array is returning that string.
It's not a string, it's an array of strings. So return array is going to be an array, and the values inside of them are going to be strings. right? So my list of names list that I created right here,
How does that?
I'm just converting it using the .to array method and storing it in my string array.
How are we calling that though? You just calling it just by putting a list of names.
.to array.
Okay, that's all you gotta do.
Yep, it's just a list method that you have to use. We could write another for loop and then for everything in my list, add it to my array. Now that I know what the length of my list is, but it just seems very, very, very repetitive. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Create an array with values taught. Okay, shuffle the array and print the values. Return an array that only includes names longer than 5. Cool. And then I can call names. Awesome. Any questions?
Before, when you return,
Here?
yeah, before earlier you showed how you can look at that in the
Debugger?
debugger.
Yeah. Do you want to take a look?
Yes.
Let's flag it. This is a
Okay.
breakpoint. This is where our debugger will stop and examine, right? And just run debug. So it'll just run as if I called .NET run, right? Except it'll stop at all the flags that I have. Cool. So it stopped right here. I have a list of names, my return array. And if I look at my return array, I have Tiffany, Charlie, Geneva, Sydney, all names that are greater than 5.
How do you stop it and get out of it?
Get out of it. There is a step over, I think this is. And then there's step into, and then there's step out. All of these behave a little bit differently depending on if you're in like a function within a function or if you're looking at a function. And there's a whole section about the debugger and a quiz about the debugger. And I would definitely recommend maybe just skimming through it because the debugger can become very helpful when you're dealing with a full-scale MVC framework and you kind of get lost. Cool.
What does it mean when it says it couldn't find that symbol or whatever? It's talking about
I
the
don't know.
bracket that it couldn't find? Or that it gave an error as soon as you did that.
This, I don't really know what this is.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Cool. All right. Any questions? No? I know there were a lot of kind of fundamental concepts that we kind of just breezed over, but today is the first day. I'm going to stop the video. Today is the first day of C#,